Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Barry Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, picking up after the events of the last episode, Barry is now trying to figure out this whole Taylor thing. He keeps asking his buddy, what kind of person is Taylor? He's like, I honestly don't know. Fact is, but Taylor's a cool guy, right? I was, oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, this one guy, spilled a drink on me, and, Taylor, broke the dude's jaw. I was like, oh, cool. Even your wife isn't cool about it. Which, side note, the actress who plays his wife plays Emma in Legacies and Grace in Fear the Walking Dead, which she would have probably been, this is 2018, so definitely, I think she would have definitely been doing Fear the Walking Dead around this time. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Regardless, I was just like, hey, that's so cool. I was like, what else? Oh yeah, the other thing I know her from is she played Jasmine in Once Upon a Time. I think that's the first thing I ever saw her in, and then I subsequently saw her in Legacies, and then Fear the Walking Dead. Just because it took me a while to catch up with Fear the Walking Dead. Tangents and all that aside, so she doesn't like Taylor too much, and so Barry's trying to figure out how he handles this whole situation, especially when Fuchs is all about, let's get this done, let's do it. But obviously there's a little snag, especially because the cops are investigating, and now it puts a lot of heat on them, and I love that now Hank is getting a lot of that, which, it's like, Hank is like, man, if this hit doesn't go down, if we don't take out the Bolivians, Goran might kill me, and Barry's like, he should. I mean, you brought a freaking lipstick camera to he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a bit of a gearhead. What do you expect from me? I love tech and stuff. And it's like, you feel so bad for Hank because he's like, yeah, come on, don't say something like that. Like I should die and I should get murdered. No. But with so much heat on them right now, Barry's like, no, we should pull out of this whole situation. Fuchs convinces Goran, is like, no, let's keep at it, because if you don't, they'll say that you're the type of person that has piss in his pants. He's like, no, and it's like, I know, you're not the type who has piss in his pants, you're the type who gets stuff done pants. Something of that nature. So the hit was going to be called off, but he called it back on because this way he ensures that they get paid. That's all Fuchs cares about. And then Barry has to explain to him, yeah, there's the Taylor rub of the situation, which he was screaming in the bathroom, fuck, you fucking idiot. And he's like, okay, I thought about it. Cool, this works out. Get the Taylor dude involved. And when it's all said and done, you've killed all the Bolivians. Kill him. It's like, no, he's a Marine. I'm not going to do that. It's like, I get it. You're a Marine. He's a Marine, but he knows too much. He could either get us busted or he could sell us out. So he has to die. He knows too much. And I like that element of, he's a Marine too, and Barry won't cross that line. And I think it does a really nice job of feeding into the theme of, regardless of, Barry doesn't want to kill people anymore, and he's all, he at least justifies, any person I've ever killed with this whole assassin hitman job is terrible people. That's why he had a hesitancy when it came to the Ryan thing. It's like, yeah, he had an affair with a dude's wife. That's the worst thing he did that we're aware of. So Barry wasn't too keen on that, and that justification of, I kill bad people, and I think this episode really kind of focuses on, why he, why I think Fuchs was able to kind of convince him to do it is during the acting class, obviously they're doing Macbeth, and obviously the conversation comes up about, right, you should, he's a psychopath and stuff just because someone told you to kill somebody, the person who, yeah, you might have ordered something, but the person who actually did it themselves is the psychopath. And he's like, no, I don't see it that way. And he has a whole back and forth with the entire class because he was like, right, he was ordered to, so I don't think it's that bad. He was just following orders. It's like, and you just follow orders to kill someone? And he's like, so you guys are calling me a psychopath, which obviously they didn't remember the element of, right, Barry was in the military, he was a Marine. So there is that element, but there's also, I think that's an interesting conversation and commentary of, right, there are people in the military who have killed people. Would you label them as killers and such? And I think that's a complicated conversation because it is a situation of you are given orders to kill people. So, And in Barry's case, it's like, right, he did kill people in the military, but he also kills people now. So the whole conversation about like, oh, you're a fucking psychopath, it reigns true a little bit here because like, right, you kill people for money. But also, like, from Gene's perspective and the class's perspective, it's like, right, Barry is, he's talking from a military perspective, thank you for your service. So it makes you wonder, will that, like, now, oh, thank you for your service, treating him like the military person he is, or at least was, is that going to rub him the wrong way now, having to be like, oh, they're calling me a psychopath for killing people. And that's why I was talking about how I thought it neatly played into the fact is that in the military, he was given orders to kill people. And to him, it's like, right, I killed bad people when I was ordered to. And the same thing is, I'm killing bad people now. So that's why I'm thinking Fuchs probably just pointed it out like that, right? You might get paid, you might be lost in purpose, but you're going to basically be doing the same thing you were doing before. You're going to kill bad people. You're making the world a better place. And it's just like the military, except you're kind of doing it by yourself, and it's just kind of between us, but it's exactly the same job. So I'm assuming that's the wording Fuchs used. And now this is making it, like, he's already been questioning killing people before, but now it's like, right, I guess he's never really considered it and just had the word psychopath label there. Like, oh, you kill people because someone told you to. Like, I think that strikes on two folds. Him as a Marine, but also him as Barry the Hitman. But he justifies Barry the Hitman because of who and what he did as a Marine. It's like, right, I did the same thing. At least that's his justification for it. At least that's how Fuchs convinced him. So I think that's such an interesting conversation. I thought the whole acting class situation was interesting too, because obviously Moss showed up and handed out the blurry photo, and I love that when Gene was like, "Oh, thank you, Detective Moss," but he calls her by her first name as well, and he's holding her hand, and she's like, "Let go of my hand." It's just like, I think that their whole situation is so cute. I even love later on, Loach is like, wait, none of our suspects fit the bill, which we'll circle back to that in a second, and then he's taking down the photo. She's like, no, put them back up. It's like, no, we should be done. Like, why are we keep investigating? She's like, I have an inkling. I was like, oh, do you actually feel like there's still something more to this, or are you just using it as an excuse? And the next scene is like, oh no, you're just using it as an excuse because Gene actually impressed you and you go to his place, and I guess they got down to it because all we saw them do was making out, but it's like, oh look, I guess we're doing that. I was like, oh, that's actually really cute. It's almost like interesting. I'm sure on some level maybe there's some part of her feeling like there's still something there, but if they remove anyone from the acting class off the suspect list, it's going to mean less excuses for her to use her job to go visit the acting class. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So obviously no one's going to recognize Barry because there's like no features that you can pertain from that picture, but I did like the whole situation, and I thought it was kind of a neat way to introduce the fact is that Barry and Fuchs have like a whole cover story. It's just like, oh, okay, you need my alibi. It's like, yeah, I was hanging out with this person and this person, we were out drinking, and it's like they have phones associated with being like, all right, this is the number, because I like that. It's like, oh, this guy picks up and, Fuchs pretending to be at like a factory working, and then it's like, right, this phone and identity are associated with this other Ramon, and then he had to go, and he's like, and then he has to put on an accent to talk as Ramon. Because I was like, oh, how are you going to differentiate your voice? Oh, you like knock it up like an octave or two, and then you put on an accent. So I was like, oh, I like that. I mean, it makes sense with the business that you do. You would have to have things set up, but it's kind of neat to be able to get that, like, oh, that there is a well-oiled machine. Like, they haven't gone into specifics, but they've been doing this a while enough to have like everything structured out. Once again, I wonder, is that something that they came up with together? Was this all Fuchs' idea? Like, did Fuchs have all this worked out, or did Barry like help fine-tune a lot of this? In case you need to come up with an alibi. I wonder, you would assume they've have to have used it at some point in time because those countermeasures are already set up. So, I'm assuming there have been times where that has come up, or maybe this is one of the first times they've ever really had to use it. They never really talk about it. Just Fuchs being like, oh yeah, I saved your bacon. You should be thanking Ramon, type of situation. So I just thought that was kind of a whole fascinating thing. I also love the home dude from the acting class being like, you know who did it? I bet you it was Eric. And it's like, yeah, look at him looking like a psychopath or something like that. And I'm like, why do you assume the worst in Eric? But some other elements to the acting class is that Sally wants nothing to do with Barry. She calls him out for his toxic masculinity, which I love that he tries to use that for Fuchs. Like, yeah, you're using toxic masculinity. Fuchs like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, it doesn't matter. Because I love that, because even Barry doesn't know. It's just right, regurgitating what someone said to you. But Sally was like, right, what you did was wrong, and maybe we shouldn't talk to each other for a month or maybe ever again. It's like, wow, that was, which I think, yeah, he might have overreacted, yes, but I think you should give him at least an opportunity to kind of apologize. And she just kind of, and I think it's really interesting what they did with her this episode, because, I mean, for one, she was getting all snippy with the way Natalie did the whole performance, and it's like, oh, I was Lady Macbeth last time. Like, I actually felt the feeling, and no offense, but you were just kind of reading words off the page. She's like, offense taken. It's like, that wasn't, she's like, no, I'm being very, it's, you know, it's constructive. It's like, no, it wasn't constructive. It was the opposite of constructive. It's unconstructive. So, and we saw kind of that, I think the acting class turning against her a little bit later on when they're at the bar, because they're like, man, that's kind of messed up. We didn't think about Barry. It's like, right, we should have considered what all that we were saying, and knowing that forgot that he was in the military. But Sally's like, right, but the fact is, he was acting the way he was and saying the things that he said. They're like, yeah, but, and she's like, yeah, plus the way he seemed a little scary, huh? I mean, that's no way to kind of treat people. We're like in this together. And then Natalie's like, yeah, but I'm not, did you never apologize for the whole Zach thing? It's like, and I even love, she's like, who? She's like, the dude who's Pinocchio. And it's like, that's the thing of like, Sally is very self-absorbed. I even love Sasha's like, yeah, I took a quiz about whether or not I'm in a bubble. I am. And it's like, yeah, maybe we all are, which you're like, oh, is that supposed to be like a wink and nod, like an extra, like a larger commentary of like, oh, that's a conversation a lot of people have about people in Hollywood, about like, oh, a lot of their, when you're, I mean, that doesn't just apply to Hollywood. That applies to anywhere in life. That's political beliefs, sometimes your religious beliefs, like sometimes you're in your own bubble and you have a tendency of not viewing the outside world. Sally is an example of that. They're at least getting to the point that like everyone else in the class is like, oh, maybe we are actually in a bubble. They're a little more self-aware than Sally is. Once again, like I've said it for a couple episodes now, just how very self-indulgent she can be sometimes, and especially in this case. But it's like, right, you went off and had adult times with Zach. I wanted to have adult times with him, and the other guy was like, yeah, like she was talking about Zach for a while now. She's like, what are you guys going on about? Like, what do you think this is middle school or something like that? And then Natalie was like, no, this is acting class. So I think, because she was always, I think she held some space. I don't know if she was like Miss Popular, because she definitely like radiates, I think it's what I said before, like mean girl energy. She seems like Miss Popular that has like people around her. It's like, you're not really tight with the people around you. They're just kind of like there to be your crew and stuff like that. To kind of, you want them to kind of make you, uplift you more, to make you feel like, I think everything last episode too, but it's like she taken a lot of, I think, just the rejection and stuff, because she never talked to anyone about that. She just kind of was like, yeah, because Barry asked about it last episode, and she just kind of moved on from it. It was like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like she was just kind of ignoring the conversation rather than the opening about, yeah, things kind of didn't work out. So I think she's internalizing a lot of that, but I think it plays, once again, I've said it before, like that world of acting seems like it would just beat you down. Of course you'd have your like insecurities and if you're an insecure person from the beginning, like that world will just spit you up and chew you out. It would break you down till you have nothing left. That's just like, that just seems like the type of, that, I mean, I think maybe this applies to the entertainment industry in general, but definitely acting, I feel like that will break your spirits. It would just kind of kill your dreams on the inside. But nevertheless, so I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I'm curious to see where things kind of go for it from there, like how Sally and the rest of the acting class's relationships kind of develop after like that. I mean, because that's all we got in this episode, but like where are things going to head to next? So Barry ends up accepting Taylor's help, and once again that conversation rotating over and over and over again in his head, I think. Because I didn't talk about it, but when he, at the beginning, because like Barry still is kind of having those daydreams of being a dad and stuff, with Sally as his wife / the mother of his child, and it's like, oh, we got this perfect happy family. We're taking photos, when he was taking a photo of his Marine buddy's family, and it makes, he's still, despite everything, he was still holding on to that for him and Sally, but it's like, yeah, we'll see if that continues. Well, it continues later on, but it's like, because he's thinking about, he did kind of get like a concussion at the time, but it's like his son got a black eye because, oh, some kid punched me first, so I punched. It's like, no, you got to be better than that. It's like him trying to teach this kid, like, no, you're going to be a better person in this world. You know, you got to, like, right, when stuff goes wrong, you don't turn to violence. That's not you, you're better than that. So, which is obviously supposed to be, you know, indicative of his current circumstances of like, no, I don't want to be this person. I can try to find another way. You know, it won't be that easy, obviously, with everything going on, but circling back to it, Taylor being super gun-ho about, yo, Barry, I hope you haven't killed those Bolivians because I want to help out. I want to kill them too, so hit me up. And he left like at least 3 voicemails over the course of the episode. So him and Barry eventually meet up and they go, I love Barry's guide, everything planned out. Taylor's like, yeah. He's just ready to go in like Call of Duty style, guns a-blazing. And they start killing people. It's also a place where they are torturing people too. So I think that solidified it more for Barry. He's like, okay, I think he feels at least a little bit better. Once again, with all these conversations of him still being a psychopath because he was ordered to kill someone, I think he's still. I think that's proof of him still trying to justify. It's like, okay, good. I don't have to feel as bad because they are terrible human beings because they're torturing people. So. End up killing a lot of people, and I love that he got to the point he was going to leave Taylor alone because once again Taylor went in literally screaming Leroy Jenkins, so that was interesting. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, Barry's not even going to have to kill him, he's going to end up getting killed himself. It's like, no, when Barry decided to leave him behind, some dude comes up and like with the barrel of the gun and like knocks him out, and by the time he snaps out of it, Taylor's killed everyone. And when the time comes, Barry has the option to kill Taylor, but he doesn't. In fact, he actually brings Taylor to meet Fuchs later on. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.